Hey everyone, this is PM Sport Talk, the father and son duo podcast. I'm your host Preston, alongside my father Mike and Dad. How are we doing today?
I'm doing well. A lot of sports to talk to. The NFL is wacky as ever, and can't wait to get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's start off with some NFL. We had Sunday and Christmas Eve. We had a whole Sunday slate of NFL. Let's start off here with the Christmas game, actually, Ravens and Niners.
Yeah, it's a battle of the top two teams in the league. We were all hoping for this great game, and it kind of didn't work out that way. Kind of one-sided for the Ravens, and I don't know if Brock Purdy got exposed or if he just had a bad game, but it didn't look good for the Niners last night.
Did not at all. Lamar Jackson absolutely played amazing, and Brock Purdy, on the other hand, benched in the middle of the game for Sam Darnold after throwing those 4 picks.
Yeah, 4 picks in one game. That's just crazy.
He had 3 in the first half.
I know. I'm not really sure if it's the Ravens defense or if he just had a bad game. A little bit of both, maybe. But yeah, it's not the Purdy that we've seen all year. And everybody's been waiting for this game, though. All the naysayers, and I've been one of them, saying that he's just an okay quarterback in a good system. Maybe last night was the beginning of him coming back down to earth where he probably should be.
Yeah, he got exposed, in my opinion. I don't think there's no sugarcoating that. He got exposed. I think, yeah, like you said, this is the start of exposing Brock Purdy as a system quarterback.
Could very well be. Darnold went in there. He did okay. He didn't throw any interceptions.
He threw a touchdown.
Of course, the Ravens were way ahead at that point. I don't know, but hard to say whether the Ravens still had their foot on the gas defensively. I think they did. They still had all their starters in, so I'm sure Shanahan's going to go back to Purdy next week, though. He deserves that. He's played good all year. But I think there might be a quicker leash, though, if he does struggle again.
So the question that this brings from this game is Lamar Jackson now the runaway MVP?
That's a tough one. He's the quarterback on the best team in the league right now. He's got good stats. They're not great stats. But I don't know where else you can go at this point because the top 2 guys before this game were Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey had a good game last night.
So he's probably like second in the race now.
So it probably is Lamar as long as if the Ravens finish out strong, you're probably going to have to give it to him, even though he doesn't have great stats. Like the year that he did win the MVP, he had phenomenal stats. He doesn't have those this year, but he is guiding the top team, and I think you probably would have to go with him. You got McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill maybe if he finishes out strong.
Yeah, but I think the only way Hill would have a chance if he gets 2,000 receiving yards. Right now he stands at 1,641.
Yeah, so he'd have to have
200 games.
Basically,
about
almost 180, something like that at least, and which he could quite capable of doing. But they do play the Ravens next week, so you wouldn't think he would have that kind of game against them. But you never know. That next week might be not only for the top seed in the AFC, but it might be for the MVP too.
Oh yeah, Tua and Tyreek have had that strong connection all year long. I think right now Tua's the MVP. He's like 4th in the race or something along that nature.
Yeah, he's got no chance to get it. But
no,
he's had an okay year. But I'm not a big Tua guy. I'm just not. He's a product of Tyreek Hill, in my opinion. You take him. You saw what Tua was without him. He's just an average quarterback.
Saw him without Waddle as well.
So, he gets stats because of the run after catch with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So
kind of similar to Purdy with Samuel.
They are similar quarterbacks in my opinion. They're both, in my opinion, they're both average average to good quarterbacks, but their stats which say that they're borderline elite quarterbacks, but they're not. Their stats are a product of systems and the great talent they have around them. So, yeah, that's why I'm just not that big of a Tua guy myself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cam Newton recently started his own podcast, and he was saying on there how Purdy and Dak were game managers and not, like their MVP. They were in the MVP conversation when he said that, and Prescott has lost 2 games in a row since he said that.
Yeah.
And Purdy is 1-1 and 5 touchdowns and 4 picks.
I never thought either one of them were what you would call elite quarterbacks, especially Dak. I mean, he never wins in the playoffs. He's more than a game manager, but he's a good quarterback, but that's it. He's not an elite quarterback. And, I just never thought the reason he was in the MVP discussion is because, there just wasn't a lot of other candidates. So, and he just played himself out of it, like you just said. So,
yeah, Prescott. He's also in a good system as well. I mean, he's got great receivers. He's got Lamb. He's got Cooks. He's got Pollard. He was a good receiving back. I mean, that's the thing. Everyone was hyping him up to be this great RB1 because he played great behind Zeke, but he really hasn't been that.
No, he's been okay, but yeah, he belongs in a 2 running back system. I mean, so they'll probably try to improve that next year, but he's just not. To me, he's just too small to be an everyday back, and every down back.
Yeah,
he's good, out of the backfield and stuff like that, but have him between the tackles taking that beating, I just don't think he's that kind of running back.
No, not at all. I mean, he's got some. He showed flashes for sure when he was with Zeke in that 2-backfield, but yeah, that's where, like you said, that's where he belongs, and with 2 running backs. So we did get through the Niners and Ravens. We pretty much just got through 2 of the teams that just played, the Cowboys and the Dolphins, and the Dolphins ended up being the best of the Cowboys.
Yeah, interesting about that game is neither one of those teams has done very well against good teams this year.
Yeah.
Miami, that was their first win against a team with a winning record all season. Yeah. And Dallas's only win against a team with a winning record is the one game they beat Philadelphia.
Right.
Other than that, those teams have not beat teams with good records. So that's why they're kind of fraudulent, both of them, in a way.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They played each other, so one of them had to win, obviously. But when they're against good teams, they just don't win.
You look at the AFC playoff picture with the top 4 seeds. The only team that looks legitimate is the Baltimore Ravens. You got the Dolphins, who, as you just said, that was the first win against a over 500 team, the Cowboys. You've got the Jaguars, who suck now. And you've got the Dolphins, who also... Oh, I just said the Dolphins. So we got Dolphins and the Chiefs, who just lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, you got Baltimore 1, Miami 2, Chiefs 3, and Jacksonville 4. Those are the 4 division leaders in the AFC. Like I say, Baltimore is the only one that's playing really well. Chiefs, they just lost to the Raiders yesterday. They don't look good at all. Jacksonville's lost 3 or 4 in a row. Trevor Lawrence is hurt again. Was his ankle? No, it's his shoulder. I haven't heard any more about that. I think they're going to do an MRI or something on his shoulder. So we'll find out probably today or tomorrow how that's doing. And then your wild card teams, you got Cleveland. That's the other team that's looking really good.
Yeah.
They're 10-5. They're the first wild card. And then you got Buffalo 9-6, who's starting to look good now, although they did struggle against San Diego. And then bringing up the final spot is Indy at 8-7, but there's 3 other teams. You got Houston, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati that are all 8-7. So the wild card teams, that's going to go right down to the last week.
Yeah, those last 2 spots.
Yeah, we don't know who's going to be in there.
Cleveland's got that spot locked.
Cleveland's in, but the last 2 wild card spots, that could be any one of those 4 teams.
Yep.
So that's going to get crazy. And Indy and Houston play each other the last week of the season. And, Pittsburgh plays Baltimore the last week of the season, but Baltimore might not need that game. So that might be a blessing for Pittsburgh. They got an outside chance to get in. Buffalo, they play Miami the last week of the season. That could be for the wild card or for a division.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy right now. So, yeah, a lot up in the air. After next week's games, we should have a clearer picture. We'll know exactly what each team needs to do to get in. But as of right now, it's kind of crazy.
That's for sure. The wild card teams, yeah, like you said, that's going to come down to the wire. Browns, that's one team we want to talk about, the Cleveland Browns.
How about Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco, off his couch watching the NFL, is now just got signed to the Browns 1 week, and then all of a sudden he's magically brought this team back to life.
This is a guy that was pretty much out of the league, and now he's like...
He did not look like this with the Jets, so
not at all.
That asks you some questions. But, I mean, against the Texans, it looks like Flacco has found his wide receiver one in Amari Cooper. How about that? He set the Cleveland single-game record with receiving yards, 265 yards. He also had 2 touchdowns to go with that.
Unbelievable game, and Houston's got a pretty good defense, too. So, as Flacco, did he throw for over 400 yards in that game?
Something.
I think he did.
At least 300.
He threw for a lot. It's unbelievable. This guy just brought him in off the scrap heap. I mean, he looks like he's 25 again out there, and he's 38. I mean, when you saw him last year with the Jets, it looked like he could barely move.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting sacked, throwing interceptions. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And that defense on that team is so good. I would not be shocked at all if they somehow got to the Super Bowl. You're going to think I'm nuts, but it would not surprise me a bit.
I agree with you. I mean, Flacco, he has the weapons to do it. And as well as that, you just mentioned that outstanding defense, best in the league. And I think that Flacco has the weapons to do it. I mean, Jerome Ford has filled that spot for Chubb so well at running back as well. When Chubb went down with that gruesome leg injury,
you thought the season was over.
Ford stepped in, and he's been playing well. You also got, Cooper, Elijah Moore.
David Njoku is playing great.
Njoku's playing good, too.
And, they got a good offensive line. Yeah, and like I said, the defense is the defense. It's just...
Flacco's 2 favorite targets are looking to be Njoku and Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't stop him. He was just on fire. So, I mean, you could see he still has an arm. He can throw that ball as good as anybody. As long as he gets protection from that line. And, yeah, look out for Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Cleveland, it could be that one Cinderella team. You look at teams like, I mean, it's been done before. The backup quarterback not too long ago, Nick Foles.
Yeah, you just never know. And the key, when you have a backup quarterback like that, as long as you have that great defense, you just never know. And they're looking really good. Like I said, they're going to finish with the top wild card spot.
Yep.
They have an outside chance. I think they still have an outside chance to win the division. I mean, Baltimore would have to lose their last 2 games, and they'd have to win their last 2, I think. But, but they're definitely the top wild card. So, yeah, unbelievable job by Kevin Stefanski and that team there. Can't say enough about the Cleveland Browns.
I want to make a point with that. I mean, there is a lot of Coach of the Year candidates this year. I mean, Stefanski, Steichen, Ryans, and I'm even throwing Antonio Pierce in there too.
There's a lot of guys. For me right now, it probably would be. It might have to be Stefanski. I don't know.
Stefanski or Steichen, in my opinion, right now.
I think I would go with Dan Campbell. Might get a lot of votes too.
Yeah, that's for sure. As they just won that division.
First time in
since '93. Was it?
I just saw yesterday that it was the first time since I think it was 1953 or something like that both Cleveland and Detroit both had at least 10 wins in a season at the same time.
Holy crap!
Yeah, those 2 franchises don't win, and for those 2 teams to be doing good, that's great for those fan bases.
Detroit had to sacrifice the Pistons, but they have their football team.
That's a whole nother story.
All right, well, I wanted to go move on here to the Raiders and Chiefs game last night, or to kick off the Christmas games. I'm saying this right now. Give Antonio Pierce the job. Give him the job.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You look at what they did. They were in this exact situation not too long ago. Bisaccia took over after John Gruden was fired for very specific, obvious reasons. And Bisaccia did well, got that team to the playoffs. And the Raiders still have a shot to make the playoffs. It's a very slim one, but they do have a shot. And if they win out, I think Antonio Pierce already has that job locked as of right now.
He should have it, but that owner is so up in the air. You just never know what he's gonna do. He's just a weirdo. I don't know another way to put it. But
if he wins out, give him the job for sure. You got to give him the job either way.
You made the mistake last time of not giving the guy the job when he did well. Don't make that same mistake twice. If you watch this Raider team play before Antonio Pierce became head coach, it's night and day. It's the same players. The players didn't change at all. It's the same players, and that team is just so different. That defense is just flying around, making plays. You saw yesterday, Mahomes couldn't do much against that team. They couldn't run the ball. The Raiders are picking him off and causing fumbles, and it's just a totally different team.
Aiden O'Connell didn't have a completion in the second, third, or fourth quarter. He completed 9 passes in the first quarter, for the game. And that tells you, I don't think if you have Josh McDaniels, they win that game. No, they don't win that game.
If they have Josh McDaniels, they lose that game 28-14. Probably.
Yeah.
It's just
Jimmy Garoppolo was Josh McDaniels' quarterback. Even though Jimmy Garoppolo was doing terrible, they put in Aiden O'Connell only when he was hurt. And as soon as Pierce steps in, he makes the right decision, puts O'Connell in there, gives him a shot. Because
definitely.
McDaniels, the problem with him was he was going off of what he did in New England. If you remember correctly, when McDaniels was the offensive coordinator, Garoppolo was Brady's backup, right?
Yep.
And it just didn't seem like McDaniels wanted to move on from the fact that he coached the Patriots offense.
Yeah, he doesn't belong as a head coach. That was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
He might be a very good offensive coordinator, but as a head coach, he just didn't have it. His guys didn't want to play for him. He didn't have them ready to play games. They weren't up. It's just night and day with him and Pierce, and that's why Pierce. You got to give him the shot. He's got to be the coach. I mean, that's what a head coach does. A head coach he gets the team ready to play. He sets the culture for the team. The offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, they come up with the game plans, specific game plans. Mm-hmm. But that head coach has to manage everything, get the team ready to play, and that's what he does. It's a whole different attitude with that team, and that's the kind of guy. He reminds me a little bit of Mike Tomlin in that way. Where he gets where he's more of a guy that get guys ready to play, lets the coordinators handle the game plan and all that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's Mike Tomlin. I'm just saying he might be that kind of coach.
Right.
And you can see what it does because not like that Raider team is full of talent. So for what he's getting out of them, that's just phenomenal.
The thing is, I think if they don't hire Pierce, a lot of the Raiders players will not want to play as a Raider at all.
Yeah,
Pierce, McDaniels, they didn't want to play for him, as you said. They didn't want to play for him one bit. And if you look at Antonio Pierce, on the other hand, they want to play for him. They dropped 63 points against the Chargers just the week prior to this. And that defense played phenomenal this week against the Chiefs. And one thing that's going really unnoticed is Jacobs was not playing that game. He was hurt. Zamir White had over 140 rushing yards. That run game was destroying the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's got the line play. They're like dominating the trenches, and that's where you win and lose football games. That's like I said, it's that culture. Mm-hmm. And they were pushing around the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a pretty good offensive line too. And that defense was holding their own against that offensive line. And like you said, the Raiders' offensive line was winning the battle against the Chiefs' defensive line. So
Chris Jones, you didn't hear his name one bit.
No, they took care of him pretty well. And so you got to give him the job. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get it. But you just never know with Mark Davis. He's one of those guys. So,
Yeah.
but it should be Pierce, but who knows with Davis.
And if Pierce doesn't get the job in Las Vegas, he'll definitely get the job somewhere else.
Yeah, he'll definitely have some. I mean, he's definitely done good for himself,
Yeah. Coming up on upcoming NFL, we've got the Cowboys and the Lions on a Saturday showdown. Remember, this game will not be on Monday night because college football is on Monday.
Yes, great game coming up. Big game for both teams because Detroit still has an outside shot at getting the 2 seed, which means they wouldn't have to play Dallas or that top wild card in the playoff.
Right.
So that's a big deal, getting the 2 seed. So right now it's between them and Philly. So they still have an outside chance at that.
Well, the top wild card team, it looks like that will be probably Tampa Bay playing that team, right? Because they're going to be the 4 seed.
Yeah, because you got right now in the NFC playoffs, you have San Francisco 1, Philly 2, Detroit 3, and then Tampa 4. And then you got Dallas, the Rams, and who's the other wild card team? Got it right here.
Seattle, that's
right.
what it is.
Seattle's 8 and 7. Yeah, so it's Seattle. Yeah, so Tampa would play the Dallas. Whoever doesn't win the NFC East, Dallas or Philly, and right now it looks like it's going to be Dallas isn't going to win. So, yeah. So getting that 2 seed for Detroit would mean they wouldn't have to play probably Dallas in the second round. That's huge. So that's a big game for Detroit. It's a tough one to call.
And if Detroit gets the 3 seed, it's not going to get much easier for them because they will play probably the Rams.
They definitely want the 2 seed because I could see them losing to the Rams.
Me too.
The Rams are playing great football. Matthew Stafford's playing as good as any quarterback in the league right now. So, yeah, that's a big game for Detroit. And Dallas still has an outside chance to win the NFC East.
Right.
They'd have to win both games and hope Philadelphia loses both. But who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Speaking of Philly, they have not looked like themselves at all. I mean, that, like you said, that division's definitely in the air. Philly they couldn't even handle off the Giants until the very end.
I know. I mean, the Giants had a chance to tie that game up. Philadelphia is interesting. I don't know what it is. They put up over 400 yards of offense, but I don't know if it's the defense. I think it's the defense isn't as good as it was, I guess.
Got to be something like that.
It's just something. They're missing something from last year. I don't know what it is, but they're just not quite the same.
You saw an interview this morning with Devontae Smith after the game, and he was saying, they asked him, "Are you feeling happy about the win?" And he was like, "No, I'm not happy. We're not playing our best football. I'm not happy."
Yeah, no, he wasn't happy with the win at all because he knows that they should be blowing teams like the Giants out, and been squeaking by, and they've been squeaking by all year.
I mean, they were winning, 20-7 at halftime, something like that, and they benched Tommy DeVito, put in Tyrod Taylor, and on the opening kickoff of the second half, Boston Scott gets ran into it by his own man, and let the Giants right back into the game.
His own player caused the fumble.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. That's the type of year it's been for Philly. It's really amazing that they have as many wins as they do. They probably shouldn't have 11 wins. They probably should have 9 wins,
Yeah.
They've gotten lucky in some games that they probably shouldn't have won because they've had so many of those games. And, if the Giants were just a tad bit better, they would have won that game yesterday because this Philadelphia just seems like they're just getting in their own way. And I don't know, there's just something they're missing. It might be the Super Bowl hangover, a lot of that's a true thing. But I would really be surprised if they got back to the Super Bowl this year. I just don't see them.
Yeah, I don't see them going to the Super Bowl.
I don't either. I just think they're going to lose in the playoffs. So
They could lose to one of those squeaky wild card teams.
they could, yeah. Especially, say the team like the Rams, even a team like Seattle gets in there. They could
Seattle
beat them.
beat them.
Yeah,
We've seen it.
yeah. So I mean, they could lose to anybody. So yeah, the NFC's up in the air. I wouldn't have said that before last night's game with San Francisco because I thought San Francisco was dominant. But after last night's game, I don't know. Chalk it up to playing a great team, but the NFC, I think the playoffs in both leagues this year are going to be really fun Because I
Should
think
be.
I think almost anybody can beat anybody.
Right.
You can't say that usually.
You can't usually say that. This year, you can't say there's a favorite, really, for either conference. Because we've seen, I mean, sure, Baltimore's playing great football, but Baltimore in the AFC, they struggle in the playoffs under Lamar Jackson.
They have not been good in the playoffs. I mean, that year that he won MVP, they were the 1 seed. I think they were 14-2 that year, and they lost their first game in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, he's got to show us that he can do it in the playoffs. I do think their defense is better this year than they have had in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. We saw Pittsburgh beat Baltimore, and Pittsburgh's not a very good team.
Right.
Just an average team.
Right.
So who knows?
Well, there is a chance. I mean, if Dolphins get the first seed, at least see a Pittsburgh-Baltimore first-round matchup.
Could happen if Pittsburgh can find a way to squeak in the playoffs. That'd be an interesting game because Pittsburgh plays Baltimore probably better than anybody.
Right.
They beat Lamar Jackson. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And, yeah, that would be a fun game in the playoffs.
For sure. Divisional game as well. So, a lot. You have playoffs at stake. You have bragging rights at stake for the division. I mean, that doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No, that's great. Yeah, unbelievable. Playoffs, it's going to be fun here. Can't wait. We got 2 weeks to go and a lot to shake out yet before we get there.
We want to talk about now we're going to shift over. College football playoffs is this upcoming Monday.
Can't wait. We've been waiting, 3 weeks, 4 weeks for this?
Yeah.
2 great matchups.
Jalen Milroe in Alabama versus J.J. McCarthy in Michigan. And then you got, later on at night, the Sugar Bowl between Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorns and Michael Penix and the Washington Huskies.
Should be great games. The only thing I worry about is because there's such a long layoff like this, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Some teams are ready to play and some aren't. Like we saw with Michigan last year when they got beat by TCU.
Right.
Remember the first half?
Yep.
They started playing like Michigan can play in the second half, but it was too late. They were too far behind.
Mm-hmm.
So that can happen when you have these long layoffs. But I think this year these are all 4 really good teams. I think they should be great games. None of these teams are head and shoulders better than the others. They're all pretty well evenly matched. So, and I think all 4 are pretty healthy now. That's the one good thing about having a layoff like this. Everybody gets healthy. So I'm looking for some exciting matchups.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Alabama, Nick Saban, it doesn't really matter who he has at quarterback. I mean, you saw they didn't even know who was going to start before this season, and they're in the playoffs. How about that?
Yeah, great job on him. We saw Jalen Milroe last year, and we were like, he's just a running quarterback. He can't. And all of a sudden, now he's throwing the ball, and he looks phenomenal.
It looked that way midway through the season, yeah. And now Saban has him throwing the ball more, and he looks more confident in his throws.
He looks really good, and their defense is good. And, yeah, they're tough out. I'm a Michigan fan. I'm worried about this game because I know how Alabama is in the playoff. They always seem to find a way to win. But that Michigan team's really good, too. So I can see that game coming right down to the end. The key to me to that game is J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
If he plays like J.J. McCarthy is capable of playing, I like Michigan. But if he plays like he's played the last few games of the year, then it's probably going to be Alabama.
Right. Because if you're Harbaugh, you can't rely on that run game the whole time against a team like Alabama.
No, they're going to shut that down. They're going to force McCarthy to beat him. And he's got to prove he can throw the ball. And one thing they don't have are big playmakers on the outside like they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
They just, I don't know, for some reason.
Is their best receiver like Roman Wilson?
I think so, Roman Wilson. So he's going to have to throw the ball. Should be a great game, but, if I was a betting man, I probably would pick Alabama. But, it's really close.
You look at the Michigan O-line, one of the best O-line in the country. You see they're going to have to shut down this Alabama. I'm looking at how are they going to contain Dallas Turner?
Yeah, that's a good question. He's a monster. They've been good all year protecting McCarthy, But I don't know if they've seen a team like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is going to be like a big test for them.
I mean, the best team they've played is Ohio State, and they're good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they have the athletes that Alabama has.
And they lost one of their linemen for the season, right? In that Ohio State game.
Yeah,
Zach
that's a big
Sinter.
loss. So I don't know I don't know if he's out for the season. I think he is. So that's a big loss there. Hopefully they've had enough time to get the next guy up, lots of reps, and he's ready to go.
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm expecting a really good game.
And then when we look at the Washington and Texas game, this game should be a shootout, in my opinion.
I was just going to say that. This looks like more of a shootout, where the other game looks more of a defensive game.
Right.
Yeah, this game's got, 38-37 written all over it? Something like that.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that, maybe even 40.
These two teams are offensive teams. I mean, there's not much else to say.
Yeah.
You got maybe a couple star players on their defensive sides, but it's mainly the offense. I mean, Ewers has a lot of weapons, and so does Penix. Yeah. You're going to have to see Penix to Romo Dunze a lot.
You got pro receivers all over the place.
Right. Xavier Worthy for Texas.
2 pro quarterbacks, too, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, whereas in the other game, those 2 guys, I don't know if they're pro quarterbacks. I mean, they're going to get there, but these guys are real pro quarterbacks, like first-round pro quarterbacks.
Right.
Penix is going to go in the first round.
Ewers is staying another year.
Ewers, I would be shocked if he's not a first-round quarterback next year. Yeah, so the Texas defense is pretty good. Like I said, I don't know if they've seen receivers like this in the Big 8 or Big 12 that they play in.
Right.
So, yeah, this is going to be a good one. Like I said, high scoring. I do like Texas because I do think their defense is better than Washington's. So if there's a stop that needs to be done late in the game, I think I trust them more than I would Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say Texas pulls this one out, but it should be pretty high scoring. It should come down to the end.
I mean, there's not much else to say. I mean, it's going to be a big shootout in our opinion. I just can't wait for the college football playoffs. It's great every year.
Yeah, it's a great setup. I love how they do it, and
you also got some great bowl games too on the day of January 1st.
Yeah, you got some good games leading up to it. So you have a whole full day of college football. If you're a college football junkie, it should be a great day capped off with 2 great games.
Well, Dad, here we go with plays of the week coming from Christmas Day. Mahomes throws, intercepted. Jack Jones running down the sideline. He'll take this for 6. Gives Mahomes a little stare down, and that is how the Raiders take a bigger lead.
What a play from Jack Jones, second straight week with a pick 6.
Look at him. He took the ball away from the kid. Oh, cold-blooded. And look at this. Gave Mahomes a stare.
You don't see too many corners doing that to Mahomes. He had a rough game yesterday. They had 2 touchdowns back-to-back. Great play by Jones.
Second play coming from Christmas as well. Hurts throws, intercepted. Adoree Jackson down the sideline. It looks like he'll take it all the way. Hurts gets his hand in the horse collar. He's still going. Touchdown, Giants.
What a play from Jackson.
Well, Dad, coming from the Steelers and Bengals, Rudolph throws over the middle. It's caught by Pickens. Still going. Pickens, it's a foot race. Has a woozy to beat. He's going to beat him. Touchdown, Steelers.
What a play. Second play of the game for the Steelers. Pickens to the house. My favorite play of the week.
Look at this. The speed of George Pickens. And, I mean, how did he break this for the touchdown? Tells the crowd, shh.
Great play from Rudolph. Puts it on him so he can keep going right in stride. And he just splits the defense and he's gone.
All right, Dad. Here's the Browns and Texans. Here's the kickoff from Hopkins. And a rare sight this season, Pierce is going to take it out. Finds space. Pierce. Oh, he's still going. Pierce. Does he have enough gas to beat Hopkins? He's still going down the sideline. Has Thomas to beat. He's going to beat him. Touchdown, Texans. 98 yards.
What a play. Got Houston right back in the game from Pierce. You don't see that too often. 98 yards.
Especially with the fair catch rule this year, you don't see much returns in general. And right here, he made the most of his.
I think this might be where Hopkins got hurt too, because he didn't play the rest of the game.
Yeah, maybe on that block right there. What a play. Bryce Young, here, takes a snap, fakes it to Hubbard, rolling out. Looking, he's flush, throws, and what a catch. DJ Chark, touchdown, Panthers.
What a play from Bryce Young. You see the talent there. he looks like he's maybe starting to get it together.
Absolutely, the Panthers made a game out of this one, and DJ Chark taps the toes. Let's take a look at this one again. Throws it right on the money and just past Stokes.
Couldn't ask for a better throw, and what a play from Chark getting his feet in.
That Patriots and Broncos on the prime time. Zappy throws out the backfield to Elliott, hurdles a man. Elliott diving, touchdown, Patriots.
Big play for the Patriots as they went into Denver and shocked the Broncos' playoff hopes.
Ezekiel Elliott kind of turning the clock back a bit on that hurdle.
Yeah, he's looking like a young Ezekiel Elliott on that one. Great play on Christmas Eve.
Well, Dad, here's our final play of the week from Browns and Texans. Flacco on 4th and 8 had to go for it without Hopkins. Flacco gets it away, and Amari Cooper taps the toes, and a first down for Cleveland.
4th and 8 play, big play in the game. Cooper was doing this all day. Can't ask for better than that.
What a catch from Amari Cooper, and points to Flacco, says, that's on you. And then the next play, Flacco throw into the end zone, and Amari Cooper with his second touchdown of the game.
What a day for Cooper. Record-breaking day.
Well, Dad, that is the end of today's podcast, but we cannot go away without predictions. So, we're going to predict the college football playoffs.
Absolutely.
Let's go with you first.
Okay. Michigan, Alabama. I got to go with Big Blue. Got to go Michigan. I got Michigan 25. Take that 24-20.
Okay.
And then the second game, I've got Texas 38-35.
I agree with you on one of those. I'm agree with you with the Texas one. I'm gonna say that one is a shootout, and the Texas Longhorns make their mark in the national championship. Alabama gonna beat Michigan, and Alabama and Texas will rematch in the championship game.
Could happen. I'm picking with my heart when it comes to Michigan, but
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked either way.
Well, everyone, that is the end of today's podcast. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all had a great Christmas, and enjoy your new year, and enjoy your holiday. Have a good one.
Hey, if you like what you see, you can subscribe down below, and you can listen to our podcast at any time. And also, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us at pmsporttalk@gmail.com. Also coming soon is a website. Thank you all for listening. Have a good one.